So, what's your favorite new gen anime? My Hero, what's yours? Dude, My Hero came out in 2016. Yeah, so what? Dude, that's almost 9 years ago. The manga aired in 2014. People born at the release of chapter 1 are now in 6th grade. It's crazy how the anime we once called new gen, like My Hero Academia, Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer, have become almost old now. When these shows debuted in the 2010s, they symbolized a shift from the era of Naruto, Bleach and One Piece. They brought new storytelling styles, fresh animation techniques and larger international audiences because of platforms like Crunchyroll and Netflix. But now, in 2024, they're closer to being 10 years old or older. Calling them new gen feels less appropriate when we consider how many new titles are currently shaping anime culture. So, which shows would you even call new gen right now? And how good was that now past generation of anime? It all started when the Titans entered Shiganshina. Attack on Titan is like in between of two different generations. The manga came out in 2010. Brother, that's when Iniesta, Xavi and Casillas won the World Cup with Spain. I think what people used to refer to as new gen is basically the shows that came out in the 2010s and were a gateway for a new generation of fans. The first big one was Attack on Titan, and with this one even the anime came to an end this year. And well, it's obviously the best anime on this list. What did you expect? I feel like Attack on Titan is so good it may have even outgrown its generation. It's its own thing and has its own gigantic fan base. Season 1 went crazy with how popular it was, and unlike most anime, Attack on Titan just became better and better through the seasons, to the point where it maintained or even surpassed the hype it got in season 1, which 99% of anime failed to do. At this point, I usually say Show X had its ups and downs, but with Attack on Titan, what started simple and great evolved into something no one could have imagined, and Attack on Titan might be a contender for best anime of all time. So yes, it's pretty good. Let's switch things up though. I will talk about one old new gen anime and then an actual new gen. Most of the shows on this list are straight battle shonen because that's usually what does well. But Frieren is a more chill fantasy and completely deserves the hype it gets. It perfectly captures a nostalgic tone and deals uniquely with loss, time and memory. It immediately managed to hook a huge audience with its unique premise, beyond Journey's End. It's a very good fantasy on its own, but with how it connects the current timeline and the past one, that's where the show really shines. The show definitely has potential. Season 1 was huge, with amazing production. It really depends on how the mangaka wants to continue the story. Does he want to play it safe and focus on Frieren's new journey? Or does he take the risks and tries to make it even greater? Kinda what Isayama did with Attack on Titan. I'm definitely gonna watch either way. After Attack on Titan, undoubtedly My Hero Academia was the biggest hit, and unlike Attack on Titan, a lot more people still call My Hero a new gen. My Hero Academia has a bad image, but is it deservedly so? Season 1 was a great introduction to a promising, fun and creative world and managed to hype up All Might and what My Hero can look like. Plus, it introduces the main villain. Season 2 comes in with a tournament arc, and everybody loves tournament arcs. But besides that, in Season 2 we focus on Ida and Todoroki, plus the negatives of Hero Society. With Season 3 we got Deku vs Muscular and All Might vs All for One, textbook shonen fights, both great, but then My Hero Academia kinda goes and does, well, nothing that crazy really. Sure, the overhaul arc was good, but everything except that was just meh. And that's where people still think My Hero is at. However, in my opinion, after season 6, My Hero Academia actually locked in. I have been loving almost every episode since, and in my opinion, it regained the quality it once had. While the anime is probably in the penultimate season, the manga has just recently finished, and fans have been left with a rather disappointing ending. Yeah, let's just call it that. But what does that even mean? The manga fans were also disappointed with the Attack on Titan ending, and the anime fans loved it. Since the anime is really in the final war, basically, I think a small conclusion is fair. While it had its downs through the middle, My Hero, for me, is still one of the better shonen. The world was fun. Horikoshi tried new stuff we haven't seen that much before. The character writing was solid. As someone from a shonen that will appear later would say, stand proud My Hero Academia. Sakamoto Days. I still don't get how Sakamoto Days doesn't have an anime yet. And yes, I know the anime will air in winter season. Sakamoto Days is the more fun Chainsaw Man. I didn't say better, but more fun. The manga has been around for quite some time now, and the whole concept is as absurd as stuff like Dan 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 or Hunter x Hunter, because everyone in Sakamoto days is a serial killer and people don't seem to mind like at all. The main squad is pretty dynamic and fun to follow, but the highlight is definitely the action, and I'm hoping for a great adaptation. In my opinion, it's quite similar to Kaiju number 8, with what it wants to be and the popularity it has. I mean, I can basically do Kaiju number 8 together with Sakamoto days, I guess. I think Sakamoto days season 1 will be very popular, and then when both shows will drop more seasons, the hype will get a little smaller, but both will have decent adaptations. Personally, I don't see how any of the two will become like a 10 out of 10 generational show. It's just the basic shonen formula from what I have seen. And that's not bad, because both shows are really good at what they are trying to be. Even though the anime still is somewhat new, with the manga having just ended, I think it's fair to say that Jujutsu Kaisen belongs to the old new gen anime. Yeah, I think I've got to work on that name thing. We also already went over Shibuya, and Shibuya is what showed us how good Jujutsu Kaisen can be. It's pure hands thrown, nothing too complex. The manga ending got a mixed reception. I have seen a lot of hate and saying it was rubbish. Honestly, I know people also praise the Culling game arc, but I think the peak of Jujutsu Kaisen is probably Shibuya, because firstly, I haven't heard anyone talk about anything but Shibuya, and secondly, it is pretty good, like really good, so there's nothing wrong with it being your best arc. In the end, I think Jujutsu Kaisen has reached a huge audience and did what it wanted to do. Be a good battle shonen, nothing more, nothing less. Chainsaw Man, sure. Let's talk about Chainsaw Man. While it is kinda in between generations, I think it's still fair to say it is in the newest generation, even though the manga started in 2020. However, I see many similarities to some of the newer shows that came after it. Chainsaw Man is a more sober approach to shonen, and it tries to implement a little bit of realism with how easily it is for characters to die. While the same kinda happened in Jujutsu Kaisen and Attack on Titan, when Attack on Titan dropped, it was literally praised to the sky for killing off characters. That's how uncommon it was. Also, when someone in Jujutsu Kaisen dies, they were barely interesting. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. Sorry, not sorry, Nobara and Nanami. Chainsaw Man has real good character writing, so when a character dies, it hits harder. At least that's just me. For me, when I think of shonen, I think of either people having fun or one emotion that's being outlined, be it anger, sadness, or whatever. Chainsaw Man doesn't have that for me. In fact, none of Fujimoto's story have it. But I have only read Chainsaw Man Goodbye Eri, and now I started Fire Punch. His style of writing doesn't resonate with me, but of course I can acknowledge he does a good job. I don't know what the future holds for Chainsaw Man. We are in part 2 right now, and people have been claiming it's gotten worse. I have heard that Fujimoto wants to end the manga soon as well. Really, the future of Chainsaw Man is the most unpredictable one on this list for me. Dan Dan Dan. Dan 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 is the newest and hottest show on the market now, and is praised by so many people. Okay, we get it. Dan 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 is good. Of course, we need to see how it translates in anime form, but episode 1 was really good. I will make a full video on it, so hey, if you want to hear me talk about Dan Dan Dan, why not subscribe? Now that we've covered the broader landscape, let's focus on 2 of the most talked about new gen series, Kagurabuchi and Undead Unluck. These titles, while relatively new, have already generated significant buzz and are part of this fresh new wave of shonen anime. Kagurabuchi is a manga that managed to evolve from somewhat of a meme to a great action story. And while it's a classic shonen story really, it's still a good one. We got a lot of cool sword fights, a good power system, and a rather dark tone, which seems to be the standard tone for shonen now. Undead Unluck is just one of those shows that go full crazy creative mode. It has absurd powers, the whole story is weird, and yet the characters are really well written. They have emotional depth and there's still great action. It's a shonen. Unlike Kagurabuchi, it's more lighthearted, but both managed to bring a lot for future anime fans. They have a lot of potential for the future, but I will admit Kagurabuchi is probably playing it safe by the book, while Undead Unluck is unpredictable to me at least. Speaking of mid, let's continue with Black Clover. I'm sorry. Black Clover is the show I know the least about. However, I do see many people saying it gets way better as it goes on. Funny. I swear I've heard that somewhere before. Black Clover doesn't have an ending in sight yet, unlike most of its new gen friends. Damn, that sounds familiar too. I definitely have to pick it back up, but as of now, Black Clover has a really hard to go through beginning, but supposedly gets better. It really depends on Tabata and which direction he wants to take Black Clover. Oh, now I remember, Black Clover totally reminds me of one. I think Tokyo Revengers also counts as one of the bigger shows of its generation, but I actually made a whole video about it, and it's by far the smallest one. So if anyone actually wants to hear anything about Tokyo Revengers, be sure to check that out, I guess. Let's end this with one of my personal favorites, and oh boy, did I have no idea how bad the second season will be when I wrote the script. Blue Lock. Blue Lock has insane sale numbers. And why? Because it is the best sports manga. Again, I did not see season 2 when I wrote the script. Not only does it have the best premise, completely twisting the average sport manga formula, but it has great characters as well. Blue Lock might be the odd one out on this list, with it being a sports anime, but I'd argue it's more battle shonen than any show on this list. Every match is highlight after highlight, and yet Isagi doesn't feel like a weak main character. I really hope the anime adaptation picks up, because with how good the manga is, the only worry I have is that the anime might fumble. Again, I wrote this before the anime came out. Regardless, you definitely need to go check out the manga. As you can see, one generation of anime has ended, and I think the reason it's still seen as new gen is because it is what 2000s adults have been watching through becoming an adult, and it's kind of the last generation that put anime one level higher in terms of popularity. However, when did all this talk about new gen actually start? I don't think anyone talked about My Hero as new gen when it freshly came out. Probably just after we were like halfway in the new generation. That's why I think the switch of what we call new gen animation will happen in a few years, and only then will we have a more judgeable basis. But until then, you can subscribe and watch my videos. Bye!